to everyone to this TV Fringe event at Conservative Party Conference 2020. Obviously in slightly different circumstances than we were expecting last year, but thank you to everyone for joining us from the comfort of your own homes on this particularly gloomy October day. The panel today is going to focus on supporting young people during the pandemic and beyond, and what the role of business is in supporting young people in this country. So really looking forward. We've got an amazing panel lined up of just industry experts and leaders and community champions and their representatives as well. I'm Laura Hutchinson. I'm the head of UK Business and Political Intelligence at Dodds Group. We are a political intelligence and analysis service. So we essentially help public and private sector organisations try and navigate this rather turbulent political landscape. So we have had a very busy few years. So please do submit your questions throughout, and we will get on to as many of those as possible during the discussion. Before we sort of dive into the detail, we're just going to give the panelists a quick opportunity just to introduce themselves and give 2 to 3 minutes sort of opening remarks, and then we'll get into the detail of it. So Jacob Young, should we start with you, Member of Parliament for Redcar since 2019?
Hi everyone, and thanks for having me. It's great to be here with Dodds and PD. A little bit about me. So as you said, I'm the Member of Parliament for Redcar. I was elected in December, but before that I spent 9 years working and training in the Teesside's chemical industry. And I had that opportunity because I had an apprenticeship straight out of college. So I didn't do too well at college, and decided to look at what my options were, and took an apprenticeship in Teesside. So this topic's really interesting to me because it speaks to my background of how I linked in with business to get on in the world of work, and how that I think my constituents can start to do that as they're leaving school as well. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jacob. I think you're actually also the first Conservative Member of Parliament for Redcar, which too modest to mention. But so Jane, should we come on to you next? Managing Partner at Jackson Law.
Yeah, I'm Jane Armitage. I'm the managing partner of Jackson's law firm. We're a full service law firm in the Northeast, based since 1876 in the Tees Valley. I've been managing partner of Jackson since 2015, and I'm also a commercial property solicitor. Jackson's has always been a training firm since 1876, but in the last 5 years we have realised that we need to train the staff we want in the future, not just the lawyers, but all of the staff that make up a law firm. And so we have been running an extensive apprenticeship program during that period, and currently out of the 76 staff that we have in the practice, 10 of those are business administration apprentices learning to be our staff of the future. So this is a topic that we are really passionate about, especially for the Tees Valley, where we think that young people need to be given every opportunity to develop careers in fields that they might not have thought about, and law being one of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, we'll definitely dive into the detail about how sort of we can communicate those messages to young people that those careers are accessible for them. Michael Duffy, should we come on to you next from TV Logistics Academy?
Hi, my name is Michael Duffy. I'm here representing Tees Valley Logistics Academy. It's a little bit complicated. That's also part of Stockton Riverside College, which is also part of the Education Training Collective. That incorporates Redcar College, Stockton Riverside College, Bede, Sixth Form, NETA Training, and the Skills Academy in Billingham. So it's a multi-campus training collective. I've been at the college about 11 years, and it's not too similar to Jacob. Myself, actually, straight out of school into an apprenticeship, spent some time in industry, and then took a career change, and I was able to do that. And then I found myself in college delivering subject areas, and then becoming more and more involved with business and heading up the department. And overseeing the development of the Tees Valley Logistics Academy. And I think pretty much everyone on this panel, perhaps with the exception of Jane, but it's early days, Jane. I work with pretty much everybody on this panel, developing young talent and raising the profile of, in particular, logistics with PD and Avey Dawson and High Tide and Casper Shipping and the likes. So I'm just absolutely delighted to be part of this, and hopefully we can kind of keep the momentum going that we have in the Tees Valley and really harvest the young talent that we have.
Thank you, Michael. Delighted to have you as well. Mark Easby, should we come on to you next, Chairman of High Tide Foundation?
Thank you, Laura. Yes, I'm Managing Director at a brand agency called Better, which is my day job. We've got offices in Teesside and London, but we service international and national clients from our headquarters in Tees Valley. But today, really, my focus is on my role as Chairman of High Tide. High Tide's an independent charity foundation, which was based on Tees Valley, but founded really around the River Tees in 7 years ago by PD Ports and Casper Shipping, with the increasing recognition that actually the port and the industry sat around the port was a very invisible industry for the region and across Teesside. So the idea was to get young people and students outside the school, away from the classroom, onto river trips, taking them up and down the river to showcase the world of industry and job opportunities and career opportunities that existed up and down the river. And since that's developed into a charitable foundation with 120 business members around it, supporting different career programs for Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. But fundamentally, we're all about trying to get young people out of schools to experience the world of work and understand job roles and the people behind businesses. And like I said, there's huge amounts of opportunity going on within Tees Valley, and we see young people and teachers and career advisors knowing very little or nothing about that. So we try to change that, and we try to change perceptions of the regions and the opportunities it has.
Thank you so much, Mark. And Nikki Sayer, should we come on to you next, Associate Director of Casper Shipping.
Hello there. Yes, my name is Nikki Sayer. I'm Associate Director at Casper Shipping, head office based in the Tees. I became chair of the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers North East branch about 2 years ago. And after starting my career on a YTS at British Steel, I had an excellent career through the shipping and logistics industry, ended up working abroad, came back and then realised the lack of awareness of this fantastic career that I've had and the fact that young people don't know anything about shipping and logistics. So when I became chair of the Institute, my purpose was to raise the profile. One of the things we did was create the North East School of Shipping based at Stockton Riverside College to try and bring people from outside the industry inside, and rather it being one of the hidden sectors, a hidden fantastic career, to let a lot more people know about it. So we've been doing a lot of work with my colleagues here to ensure we've got a full trail of education, training, qualifications available to take young people from as young as primary right the way through to higher education. And that's a model that we're hoping to, that's done really well in the Tees Valley, that we're hoping to roll out for the rest of the UK, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And last but certainly not least is Franz. He's the CEO of Shipping.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And my apologies for keeping you waiting. A little bit of brief about myself, a little bit of brief about the business that I work with. In terms of the business, PD Ports is the port operator, the port owner, as well as the statutory harbour authority for the ports of Tees and Hartlepool. One of the largest ports in the United Kingdom. We're currently ranking 5th in terms of total tonnage. We're also the largest private employer in the Tees Valley, and as such, one of the larger private employers in the northeast of England. We currently employ about 1,300 people. We probably allocate about 2% of our annual wage bill into training, educating young people, and getting on that career path. For that matter, we've got 50 apprenticeships ongoing within the business. We've got 21 of those filled now, and we're going to fill another 29 of them between now and the end of Q1 next year. And all those apprenticeships sits right across the business in terms of stevedoring activities. There could be conservancy, there could be finance, HR, IT. It's really a very, very broad spectrum. In terms of my good self, I joined PD 13 years ago after having, not too dissimilar to Nikki, quite an international career abroad. A lot of work in North America, also in Eastern Europe in terms of Russia and Ukraine, and a little bit in the Middle East as well. I joined, not too dissimilar actually to Jacob. I was given the opportunity, having my academic qualification, probably not as well as they should have been at the time, was given to join the container terminal Port of Rotterdam all those years ago, likely now already 22, 23 years ago. And it shaped me into the man that I became, and as such to help my career to where it is today. I'm currently the chief exec, and I couldn't have done it without sort of the knowledge base and the skills base and the trust that was given to me all those years ago by, in fact, a very inspirational leader that sort of shaped my career in terms of what it is today. I'm ever so grateful for that. And we and I firmly believe, personally as well as the business, that you just have to invest into the next generation, because they will be the shoulders that carry the future and carry our business forward.
Thank you so much, Fran. So yeah, we'll start with questions now, and please do, if you're watching as part of the panel, as part of the attendees, please do submit any questions and we'll get onto those as soon as possible. Jacob, we was going to start with you. We'll get into a lot of the detail around sort of the things that businesses are doing regionally to help young people, but perhaps to start with more of a broader sort of national picture here. Obviously, the Conservative Party manifesto in 2019 had a fair number of commitments to young people within that. No one was expecting 2020 to turn out as it has, obviously, but could you perhaps just give us a bit of a sense about, bearing in mind that the Resolution Foundations, for instance, are reporting, projecting an estimate of 1 million unemployed young people as a result of the pandemic. You know, what more can we see from the government? What more do we need to see from government? And then, so are we still on track to achieve these commitments with regards to tackling sort of regional inequality and youth unemployment?
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Laura. Obviously, this last year has been unprecedented, and the situations that our young people have had to go through, where never before have we not had annual exams, never before have we had teachers having to assess young people's grades. So we've left young people in a situation that no generation has previously encountered. And not only in that as well, we've also got the fact that they were away from school for so long, which as we know, will dramatically affect their chances in employment. So far, what we've announced as a government, so we've announced the Kickstart scheme as a £2 billion scheme to employ between 16 and 24-year-olds to, in essence, prevent them from being long-term unemployed. We've introduced cash incentives of £1,000 to take on new trainees, and in addition to that, we've introduced £2,000 for apprentices if they're under 25, £1,500 if they're over 25. So we're really pushing the fact that for businesses to start taking on these young people and not allowing them to become the lost generation. But I think as a whole, ultimately, the best thing that we can do for our young people is ensuring that there's the jobs for them to go into, and so that's what I think our focus should now be on. How can we create those jobs? How can we create that environment to allow businesses to start to build those jobs for our young people to go into?
Thank you, Jacob. Franz, you were speaking there in your opening remarks about sort of the particular ethos that shapes PD Port when it comes to youth employment, which a lot of it sounds like has been shaped by your own personal experience, which is really nice to hear. I mean, can you just talk us a bit more about sort of the work PD Port does specifically around helping young people in the local area? And I guess how has that been shaped by the pandemic? Has extra challenges and obstacles been created by it, and how have you had to adapt to overcome those?
It's been, to be fair, it's always sat in the DNA of the business that I joined to keep investing into the next generation. That's been something that we've been doing pretty much since PD has been in existence in different disguises and forms and shapes, going back to almost 1852 when we were established. The pandemic hasn't made it easier, but being part of a key piece of national infrastructure, because if the port stopped to operate, then that's where everything then comes to a complete standstill. I mean, we're an island nation. It doesn't go without saying that we all understand what the ramifications are going to be if a port doesn't operate. 95% of all the trade that we do and the products we consume and the products we export and manufacture and whatever you actually come through Britain's port. So it only goes to signify the importance of it all. So we never stop working. The journeys have been really to keep engaging with the next generation of apprentices that we want to get getting in. And I'm pretty sure you'll touch upon with the other panels of the other members of the panel that are on. But we've got a very long-standing and proud relationship with High Tide and the North East School of Shipping, as well as Stockton Riverside College in terms of Logistics Academy, to really open those doors to young children who actually do not understand what the opportunities are that are literally on their doorstep. It's one of the biggest frustrations that myself and all the other members of the panel have, that sort of sit in the Tees Valley, that there's a whole generation of young kids who are now in school. They actually don't know what's out there. They're actually unaware of opportunities that are, especially in a very local level. And what we want to do, you want to open the window, you open the door, and you say, well, there's the processing sector where Jacob started his career, or there's the shipping, and there's the logistics, there's the overall manufacturing. There's so much going on, and they simply do not know. And by having initiatives such as High Tide and North East School of Shipping and all the other ones that we already spoke about, the good work they did with the Logistics Academy, it's about showing the opportunities that are out there and actually almost planting the seed in their head, saying, and to the young kids, allowing them to see through those little holes in the wall, saying, oh, I can do that. Like, oh, I didn't realize that. And the pandemic has made it so much more difficult. Whereas you could take the kids out, it's typically what High Tide tends to do, and just show them, just let them touch it, let them feel it. We can't do it anymore. So it almost becomes a bit of a virtual experience, which makes it more challenging. Having said that, I also know, and Mark might expand on it later on, they're doing a lot of work now, especially in High Tide, to make it virtual and to give those kids the best of experience that we can do, to show them the opportunities that are out there.
Thank you, Franz. Yeah, it's definitely already a theme that's emerging around sort of communication and demonstrating that these jobs are available and they are suitable for young people. Just on that theme then, Michael, obviously colleges will have a really crucial role to play here in highlighting and demonstrating to young people that these jobs are out there, that the training is available and that the opportunities are there post-college. I mean, what's the role of your college as you see it at the moment, and how does that work with industry in order to sort of make it certain to you can show young people that, you know, these jobs are there when you leave college and we're going to equip you with the right skills to get there?
Yes, well, I think the Wolf Report a number of years ago now, which was published, provided us with a perfect opportunity, the development of the study programme, which required all learners to have an element of work experience as part of their programme rather than just studying a qualification and achieving that. It was recognised that young people need to experience the workplace. So that's given us a fantastic opportunity to really make that happen. And so we do that, and every learner who we work with between 16 and 18-year-old has an element of engagement with employers, whether that's a guest speaker, whether that's an actual work experience program within their program. It's been a fantastic opportunity. But what we did is we needed to take that a little bit further, we felt. And it was particularly with logistics. We recognise, much the same as Mark and Franz has alluded to, is that there's just not that recognition of what is on our doorstep in terms of Teesport. So we developed the Tees Valley Logistics Academy to address that. And the key elements of it, there's apprenticeships, there's commercial training, there's other elements in it, but the fundamental building blocks of it is to introduce young people to the logistics sector, raise their awareness, because everyone we spoke with in that age group had absolutely no idea how that mobile phone they have in their hand reaches them. They do not know about logistics, do not understand what it is, let alone think about a career in that. So what we try to do is really raise awareness through a career events, embracing an initiative called Career Ready, which PD and AV Dawson's and the like have really supported us with by providing mentorships and by providing masterclasses as well. And what we've seen over the last 3 years is that real awareness of the sector start to develop. And awareness is one thing, and that's great. But what we're actually seeing at the end of that awareness is the impact companies like PD Ports are actually starting to employ these people who've been through the Tees Valley Logistics Academy and are now employed with companies such as AV and PD Ports. So I think what we've seen over the last 3 years is the awareness raising and the actual outcomes being what we need. We just need to do that on a bigger scale. And I know what we ourselves at the college and Tees Valley Logistics Academy have done now is start to work much closer with High Tide, because what we realised is that we're doing the same thing, and what we with the same outcomes as our intention. So we're starting to work much more collaboratively now. So Mark's team at High Tide are working with younger people. We're picking them up at 16 to 18. So from a High Tide first engagement right the way through, then they come to us at college, work with the Tees Valley Logistics Academy, get a placement and hopefully employment with one of our local employers in logistics. So from a college point of view, it's something that we engage our learners with from day one, from enrolment. This is what we'll expect you to do. This is the opportunities that you will get, and I think we're now starting to see the benefits of that. And as I said, the likes of PD, AV, Casper, who engage in the programme with us, I think they would say also that they're starting to reap the benefits.
I mean, that's incredible that you've all of you guys have managed to establish this collaborative working and to continue it during a pandemic. So very, very commendable. Mark, just on that point, obviously your charity is speaking to young people on a regular basis. It's amazing to hear the work that goes in from Michael when they've joined the college. But I suppose I'm interested to hear why is it that this sector and this industry just doesn't seem like a viable job opportunity for young people? I mean, what are the challenges in showing them this is something worth enrolling in at college, let alone going in onto a career in?
A lot of it's down to awareness and understanding. There's a statistic that's really stark, and something that we recognise at High Tide, that young people that experience 4 more meaningful engagements before they're 16 are 86% less likely to be not in education or unemployed. So it's really important that I think we build a career journey for these young people, and whether it's about a particular age wanting to be an engineer or a web designer or a games developer, it's not really about that. Sometimes it's about understanding what work is and going to work and what the world of work can bring. And it's really important that we collaborate, as we have been doing with as Michael's just talked about in PD, with foundations like High Tide, but we're a small part. We're a small independent foundation that's funded by businesses, that was born through a recognition from industry on Teesside that something like that's needed to happen. And we work with industry members, and now with colleges, and now with schools. But I think we need more collaboration. I think to build that journey from primary school programs like the Tees Port Explorers that PD Ports deliver at primary school level, through the Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4 programs that High Tide can support, through the colleges and further on to universities or apprenticeship programs and internships. So working with young people to help them go through that educational journey, but throughout that have real opportunity to go out and experience what workplaces look like, meet people, understand job roles, understand career journeys, and also, I think, shout as an industry about the success stories that we have and we're continuing to have on Tees Valley within logistics, engineering, games development, digital and creative, and the sectors that actually bring so much opportunity to the region that like I say, I think that young people have little or no understanding of. A key part of the picture for us is about those influences around those young people as well, parents, career advisors and teachers as well. And in fact, some of our programs, our River Trip programs, was about educating those educators, if you like, and getting to those influences to really break down their perceptions about the world of opportunity on Teesside as well. So those young people have been influenced by people that have a huge awareness about the work that's going on around here, and not only awareness and understanding, but confidence and resilience, and some of those personal skills that young people need to get into the world of work as well is hugely important to some of the programs that the High Tide deliver.
Amazing, thank you, Mark. Nikki, I think you're a board member of Stockton Riverside College, as well as being associate director of Casper Shipping, I think. So obviously a very impressive CV there. Could you just comment on sort of what you see as the balance, I suppose, in terms of responsibility? You know, how much of this is the responsibility of businesses to drive forward these initiatives and support young people, and how much is a sort of a role of the state and of charities?
So I think what we've seen in the Tees Valley is the businesses bringing together all these initiatives. And, you know, we've got a perfect model there from primary through to higher education, through ICS qualifications, through the North East School of Shipping, through Stockton Riverside Logistics Academy. We've got the building blocks in place there, which works perfectly in the Tees Valley. Ideally, we could do, you know, funding from government in order to raise the profile of what we're doing and share it out to the rest of the country. Because I'm also a commissioner for the Maritime Skills Commission, and with the Maritime 2050 strategy, that's exactly what they're looking for in order to get the right people in the right jobs at the right place at the right time. So I think it's perfect what we're doing here. So with backing from, you know, backing and funding, that we could, you know, take this out nationwide in order to have a huge pool of potential students and employees to, you know, fulfill the gaps that we've been trying to fill. Absolutely.
Thank you. We've had a couple of questions in, and I'm conscious of time, so I just want to fire a couple of those at the panel. Jane, I think this would be a really good one for you. Got a question in: how do we encourage young people to help themselves and look in this new digital world to create their own businesses? The Prince's Trust helps, but can we do more? So Jane, do you want to have a stab at that one?
Yeah, I think there's lots we can do, and as businesses, I think that we need to give young people the opportunity to talk to people in business. We need to give them the opportunity to see new businesses in operation, and we need to look at what they need to be able to do that. So I think that sometimes we assume that all young people, for example, have a massive technology behind them. I know that in lockdown, I was really encouraged but surprised to hear that one of my apprentices was actually handwriting all of his study work because he had no laptop at home. Now, if he told me, I could have provided that laptop, but we don't think about young people not having laptops at the moment. We don't think about young people having to get 3 buses to do a bit of work experience. So I think that young people are really, really creative, and they have, a lot of them have a desire to own a business or to run a business, but they need the confidence to be able to do that, and they need something behind them to be able to do that. Because as a young person, you can't just set up a business without investment in equipment, without knowing that you can pay your way at home. You can, you know, pay your share of the household bills, you can eat, and setting up a business is a really scary thing to do, even when you've got some backing behind you. So we need to work out how we can assist young people with mentoring programs and with education programs and with clubs that they can join to help them do that and to find peers within new businesses. And there's some lovely digital hubs in Teesside where people can start businesses and work in the same environment as other businesses in a similar sector. But I think we also need to know that lots and lots of our young people have absolutely no resources behind them to support them through the simple processes of setting up a business with a laptop and a phone and getting out and about. And we need to look at some of those things, because those are the people who are probably dropping out of the system more than any, those that have no resource behind them to help them start off.
Thank you, Jane. Obviously touching there on the social role of responsibility of business as well. So it's amazing to hear that you guys are sort of looking after young people in that respect as well. There's been a couple of questions, obviously, about the pandemic and the effect that has had. Franz, we touched on it earlier, but there's a couple of questions around sort of the opportunities that have been afforded to young people throughout the summer and moving forward as a result of the pandemic. So in terms of sort of work experience, placements, I mean, is that something that PD Ports have been trying to run virtually, or have you had to sort of adjust and shift the way you're doing those? And then I guess same question for Mark and Michael. You know, what's happening with these more virtual work placements, and how are the colleges helping to support those? Fran, should we come on to you?
Okay. Yeah, it's well, in terms of work placement, now that's really, really difficult, because you can't really do a work placement if most of the people that sort of introduced to the work placement are actually working from home. Trying to social distance in someone else's kitchen is really, really difficult, actually, when you think about it. So the thrust of what we're trying to do now is, as the business keeps operating, as we have done throughout the pandemic, is really introducing the new apprentices into the business, and they then gain the necessary experiences that they need to have in order to progress their skills base in the career. And the one thing, Laura, I just want to touch upon, one of the things that I think is really, really important to stress every time and all the time, there's a lot being said about kids having the skills and the aptitude. For us, it's more about having the attitude. If you've got the right attitude, then we can teach you just about everything else. That's not the bit that I'm worried about. The bits that, and I know that Mark and High Tide do a lot about, it's about having the right attitude, come into business, be eager to learn, but also understand what it is to work in employment, right? To get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and leave home at 7 to be at your at 7:30. 7:30 is when your shift starts or whatever needs to happen. It is actually not 8:30 or as you thought it had to happen, because it isn't a core your own personal agenda. And that attitude, I think, is a really, really key part of also educating young kids in terms of what real life out there after school is actually all about.
Amazing, thank you. Obviously a lot of sort of innovation that's gone in there, so it's very impressive. Michael, Mark, do you want to either of you comment on that sort of the question around how to run things virtually moving forward, if this is the new sort of normal for us?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt, as Franz touched on, it's extremely challenging. What we've done as a college, as most colleges have done, is switched a lot of our learning to virtual. That's obviously going to be difficult in terms of work experience. So we have a number of platforms that we've invested in, such as Preparation for Employment, Career Ready Initiative, where we can still prepare young people as best as we possibly can for work experience. Through Career Ready, we're engaging in mentorship programs, which as best as we possibly can, we're maintaining those connections virtually. So while some of them think at the moment will be ruled out, what we think is really important at this point is that learners still maintain that contact with industry and through mentors and through virtual guest speakers. We don't want that awareness to drop. We don't want that momentum to subside, but we also have to be very much aware of the situation that we're in now and respond accordingly. And it's just a view of mine, and I think we talk about the lost generation, but I think the young people who are currently facing this situation in terms of resilience, and if we can maintain that, and I think we'll finally see people who are stronger, and the character it will be incredible character building, and resilient, because I think this is something that certainly we didn't face at 16-year-olds, 17 and 18, the regular things that we faced, they face as well. But on top of this, they're trying to get through their education and make the first steps in a career with a backdrop of COVID. And once we're through this, I think we'll see really strong individuals come through. And I think ultimately we'll benefit from it, because I think this is really incredibly challenging times. And once they're through this, I think we'll reap the benefits of it as a society. That's just.
I'm sure you're right on that. It will sort of make more resilient people. All of us, definitely. I mean, Mark, just on the sort of similar topic, really, but also something that Jane touched on earlier. Another difficulty that virtual sort of learning and training throws up is the fact that some kids just don't have the resourcing to be able to do that. They don't have the laptops, they don't have the smartphones. I mean, is there anything that sort of charities can be doing to support them in doing that, or is that sort of is it just very difficult to do and it's a case by case basis, I suppose?
It is. It's very challenging. In March, when lockdown happened, it totally pulled the rug under High Tide's programs and the model that we were currently delivering. Obviously, schools were shut, workplaces were shut, so actually getting young people out of those schools and into workplaces was absolutely impossible, and it has remained so ever since. So we've had to fundamentally change our model, and we had a digitisation strategy that was going to be we're going to be taking forward over the next 2 to 3 years, but we've brought that forward. So we've launched our Learning Hub, which is on the back of our website, and we're trying to fill with content from our business members, and that things like virtual tours, career stories, Q&A with both business leaders and entrepreneurs, as well as apprenticeships and trainees, and some of the young people that have been through High Tide, talking about their educational journey, the choices that they made when they were looking at the world of work, and where they are now in regard to the employment they've got. But also curating content from some of our business members and the Combined Authority and some of the sector specialists around us, people that run Middlesbrough Digital and the Digital City on Tees Valley, just to try and promote some of the information they've got about careers and job opportunities as well. So this Learning Hub is a public area of the website that young people can access and watch and download and experience some of that information as well. But the next step for us is about taking some of our physical programs and putting them online under our own e-learning academy, and we're trying to find funding and support to do that now, which is going to be a fundamental part of our program delivery in the future. So we can see, hopefully 2 or 3 years down the line, supplementing our physical programs with a digital offer, which is going to dramatically increase reach to what we hope to be every young person on Tees Valley, and that's going to be requiring collaboration with everyone that's on the panel to help us generate content and design those programs and understand what that new digital experience will look like as a young person goes through some sort of digital career program. But you're right, that generates some issues with connectivity and accessibility, some of those programs as well. So in High Tide, we're very fortunate. There was some funding raised very, very recently that we're going to ring fence to become a sort of a hardship fund, an accessibility fund, which might help buy an iPad or a laptop and help some of the young people that want to access our funding to get onto those digital programs. But again, that's something that we've done off our own back. We're very lucky that we've had a small pot of funding raised, and we've recognised that funding should be earmarked for that purpose as well. But I'd like to see much more collaboration and support for High Tide and other projects like us to try and build momentum around the programs that we're already delivering and dramatically increase the reach and the young people that we're currently supporting, because we can only do so much with the very passionate businesses that sit around us and the money that they can give us to help drive the foundation forward. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're all doing incredible work, but obviously the resourcing needs to be there to support that, obviously. We're coming up to the final 5 minutes here, so very conscious of time. We've had a couple of questions around the Kickstart program, Jacob, that they're sort of around the general theme that very, very welcome, but perhaps it's geared slightly towards more supporting larger companies, and what more can be done to support some of the smaller sort of SMEs. And also conscious that we've had quite a lot of interjection there before the last time we spoke, so feel free to comment on anything the panelists have said as well.
Right. Well, I mean, we've had to. So I think the issue with the larger employers and SMEs question is to do with the 30-person cap. So we had to introduce a cap on the amount that you, a minimum cap on the amount that you could initially take, due to protections against fraud and ensuring that actually the young people were given the training that we wanted to develop through the Kickstart scheme. You know, this isn't a scheme where we're just allowing employers to hire young people cheaply. This is about actually giving young people those opportunities, giving them that training potential. So initially we've had to put in that cap, but you can still, if you're an SME who wants to take on a Kickstarter, you can still go through a sponsor company. And so I know in the Tees Valley, you can go through the Tees Valley Combined Authority as a way of doing that. And I'm sure there's other combined authorities doing that around the country as well. And Chamber of Commerce is another great one that are using their ability as a large employer to help SMEs hire Kickstarters, so you can go through that process. But yeah, I just wanted to reflect on something that Mark was saying earlier on about the importance of getting into schools and showing young people the opportunities that they have. And I think that one of the key things for me is, if you are talking to an 18-year-old woman and you want her to be an engineer, well, you should have been talking to her 10 years ago and showing her that the prospect of being an engineer was there. Or if you're talking to an 18-year-old lad and you want him to become a nurse, you should have been talking to him 10 years ago and showing him that there's actually careers for male nurses. Because in primary school, that's when you're starting to establish those. You're not deciding what career that you're going to have, but you're deciding what careers are and aren't available to you. And I think that's so important that we're advertising to young kids the prospects that are on their doorstep. And so even touching on what Jane was saying, the fact that you can be a young kid in Teesside and still go on to be a successful lawyer on Teesside. These abilities and options are there for us. We have to be advertising them to our young people.
Thank you, Jacob. Got a lot into a couple of minutes there, so well done. Just coming up to a final couple of minutes, so I'm just going to give. Just wanted to go to Franz and then Jane and Nikki. You could just sort of we'll try and end on a theme of optimism. I think it has been a really encouraging discussion, and it is genuinely really reassuring that there's so much amazing work being done by all of you guys to support young people. But Fran, should we sort of 30 seconds, is this a time to be optimistic for young people?
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's a really, really difficult time. But if you look at participants in this particular panel in the Tees Valley, within the Tees Valley, and whilst we are restricted in the means that we have, and we recognise that we can do a lot more, which is one of the things that we really need to fix with a combined authority, we are making it work. Right? We are introducing young people into work, and the opportunities are out there. And going back to Jacob's point, is actually we are getting primary kids, well, pre-COVID actually, showing them around the port, and all these, they're all in Key Stage 1. They're looking around like, wow, what's going on here then? And that's where you start to create your engineers and your dock operatives, your logisticians of the future. That's how it works.
Thank you, Fran. Jane, same question.
I think that we are in a really strange time, but that time will pass, and we will still need all those people we needed before the pandemic, after the pandemic. And actually, the pandemic has shaken up everything, and therefore, when things get shaken up, the opportunities arise. And young people are very adaptable and they're very flexible, and we are all going to need them in the future, and therefore it's incumbent on all of us to give them the opportunities, so that not only are we helping young people, but actually we're providing the staff that all of our businesses are going to need going forward, because that's what life will be like after the pandemic. It will be busier and more exciting than it ever was before.
Thank you. And Nikki, you've got the final words of the Fringe.
No, I think we're very optimistic. We've got a fantastic model here in the Tees Valley. We've got backing from all the businesses, everyone around this table. Tees Valley, TVCA as well. You know what I mean? There's lots of interest and input, and I think we're doing really well. The future looks really bright for this area with everything that the mayor's been doing and everything. So I think we're all perfectly placed to carry the region forward and hopefully get out to the nationwide exactly the work that we've been doing.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much to everyone for joining as well. In particularly, thank you to PD Ports for putting on this really inspiring Fringe event. Actually, we could continue talking about this for a long time, and I'm sure there'll be other opportunities. But thank you to all the panelists and for everyone for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you.